Marcus Chen pulled his small suitcase through the busy airport terminal. It was late Tuesday evening and he was tired. He had spent the last 14 hours in meetings at his company office in Silicon Valley. Now he needed to catch a flight to London for more business meetings. Marcus wore his favorite gray hoodie and comfortable jeans. His sneakers were old and worn. He liked dressing this way when he traveled. It helped him relax. Marcus walked to the gate and showed his boarding pass to the gate agent. The woman smiled at him and said, "Have a nice flight, Mr. Chen." He smiled back and walked down the jet bridge to the plane. He was flying first class as he always did. His seat was 1A, right at the front of the plane. When Marcus stepped onto the aircraft, a flight attendant stood near the entrance. Her name tag read, Patricia Morrison. She had blonde hair pulled back tight and wore bright red lipstick. Patricia looked at Marcus from head to toe. Her eyes stayed on his hoodie and jeans for a long moment. Her smile disappeared. "Can I help you find your seat?" Patricia asked. Her voice was not friendly. "I'm fine, thank you," Marcus said. "I'm in 1A. Patricia's eyebrows went up. "First class?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. He moved toward his seat, but Patricia stepped in front of him. "May I see your boarding pass?" she asked. Marcus stopped. He pulled out his phone and showed her his digital boarding pass. Patricia stared at it for several seconds. She looked at Marcus, then at the pass, then at Marcus again. "Is there a problem?" Marcus asked calmly. He had experienced this before. Not often, but enough times to know what was happening. "No problem," Patricia said, but she did not move. "I just need to verify this is correct." Marcus waited. Other passengers moved past them, walking to their seats in economy class. A white man in shorts and a t-shirt walked past them into first class. Patricia did not ask to see his boarding pass. Finally, Patricia stepped aside. Marcus walked to seat 1A and put his small bag in the overhead bin. He sat down and took a deep breath. The seat was comfortable. He pulled out his tablet to do some work before takeoff. 5 minutes later, Patricia appeared next to his seat. "Sir, I need to see your boarding pass again," she said. Marcus looked up at her. "I already showed it to you," he said. "I need to see it again," Patricia insisted. Her voice was louder now. Other first-class passengers looked over at them. Marcus showed her his boarding pass again on his phone. Patricia stared at it. "This doesn't look right," she said. "What doesn't look right about it?" Marcus asked. He kept his voice calm and steady. "The barcode looks strange," Patricia said. "The barcode is fine," Marcus said. "It scanned at the gate with no issues." Patricia's face turned red. "Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me. I think there's been a mistake with your seat assignment." "There's no mistake," Marcus said. "I bought this ticket 3 weeks ago. I fly this route every month." "Every month?" Patricia said. She did not believe him. Marcus could hear it in her voice. An older white woman sat across the aisle in seat 1B. She wore an expensive dress and diamond earrings. Patricia had not asked to see her boarding pass even once. Behind Marcus, a white man in a business suit sat in seat 2A. Patricia had not questioned him either. "Yes, every month," Marcus said. "Sometimes twice a month." Patricia crossed her arms. "I'm going to call my supervisor," she said. She walked away quickly. Marcus sat back in his seat. He felt tired. He felt frustrated. But mostly, he felt sad. Sad that this still happened in the world. Sad that people looked at his brown skin and his casual clothes and decided he did not belong in first class. A few minutes later, Patricia returned with a tall man. His name tag read, Michael Reynolds, cabin supervisor. Michael had gray hair and wore glasses. He looked at Marcus with the same suspicious eyes as Patricia. "Good evening, sir," Michael said, but his voice was not warm. "I understand there's a question about your seat." "There's no question about my seat," Marcus said. "I have a valid boarding pass for seat 1A. I showed it to Patricia twice already." "May I see it?" Michael asked. Marcus showed him the boarding pass on his phone. Michael studied it carefully. He looked at Marcus's name on the screen. Marcus Chen, he read out loud. And what brings you to London, Mr. Chen? Business meetings, Marcus said simply. What kind of business? Michael asked. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Technology business, he said. I see, Michael said. He did not sound convinced. And your company paid for this first-class ticket? Marcus paused. He could tell them the truth. He could tell them he owned a technology company worth billions of dollars. He could tell them he had more money than everyone on this plane combined. But he should not have to prove his worth to fly in a seat he paid for. I paid for my own ticket, Marcus said. Patricia whispered something to Michael. Michael nodded. Sir, we have some concerns, Michael said. Your ticket may have been purchased fraudulently. Fraudulently? Marcus said. His voice stayed calm, but inside he felt his heart beating faster. What makes you think that? Well, Michael said slowly, first-class tickets on this route are very expensive, and you're dressed very casually. And Patricia says you seemed nervous when you boarded. I wasn't nervous, Marcus said, and there's no dress code for first class. And how I choose to spend my money is my business, not yours. The woman in seat 1B was watching now. So was the man in 2A. Several other passengers had stopped putting away their bags to watch what was happening. Michael's face hardened. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to move to economy class while we verify your ticket purchase. No, Marcus said firmly. I have a valid ticket. I'm not moving. Patricia gasped. Sir, if you don't cooperate, we'll have to remove you from the aircraft, she said loudly. On what grounds? Marcus asked. What rule have I broken? What have I done wrong? Michael and Patricia looked at each other. They had no answer. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened his camera app. I'm going to record this conversation, he said, for my own protection. You can't do that, Patricia said. She reached for his phone. Marcus pulled his phone away. Don't touch my property, he said firmly. Sir, turn off that phone right now, Patricia demanded. Her face was very red now. I have the right to record this interaction, Marcus said. He held the phone steady, pointing it at Patricia and Michael. The cabin was very quiet now. Every passenger in first class was watching. Some passengers in the rows behind first class had stood up to see what was happening. This is unacceptable, Michael said. You're being aggressive and uncooperative. I'm calling security to remove you from this plane. I'm not being aggressive, Marcus said calmly. I'm sitting in my assigned seat with a valid ticket. You are the ones being aggressive. Just then, a woman's voice came from behind them. What's going on here? Everyone turned. A woman in a pilot's uniform stood there. She had short brown hair and sharp green eyes. Her name tag read, Captain Sarah Mitchell. She looked at Patricia, then at Michael, then at Marcus. Captain, Michael said quickly, we have a passenger who may have a fraudulent ticket. He's refusing to cooperate with our investigation. Captain Mitchell looked at Marcus. Is that true? She asked. Marcus met her eyes. No, ma'am, he said. I have a valid ticket. I've shown it multiple times. They want to remove me because they don't think I belong in first class. The captain's eyes narrowed. Why don't you think he belongs in first class? She asked Patricia and Michael. Neither of them answered right away. The silence stretched out for a long moment. The truth hung in the air, unspoken but clear to everyone watching. Captain Mitchell stepped forward. I think we need to have a conversation, she said. Right now. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood in the first-class cabin and looked at everyone's faces. She could feel the tension in the air. Passengers were watching quietly. Some had their phones out. Patricia and Michael stood stiffly, waiting for the captain to speak. Let me see your boarding pass, Captain Mitchell said to Marcus. Her voice was calm and professional. Marcus held up his phone again. The captain looked at the digital boarding pass carefully. She read every detail. Then she looked at Marcus. May I see your identification, please? Marcus pulled out his wallet. He handed her his driver's license. Captain Mitchell looked at it, then looked back at the boarding pass. Marcus Chen, she said quietly. She stared at the name for a moment. Something flickered in her eyes, like recognition. Thank you, Mr. Chen, she said, handing back his license. Do you have your frequent flyer card with you? Marcus pulled out a platinum card from his wallet. It was the highest level of membership the airline offered. Captain Mitchell took it and examined it. The card showed Marcus had flown over 2 million miles with this airline. The captain turned to Patricia and Michael. Can you both explain to me exactly what the problem is? She asked. Patricia spoke first. Captain, when this passenger boarded, he seemed suspicious. His clothing is inappropriate for first class, and when I asked to see his boarding pass, he became defensive and aggressive. I was not aggressive, Marcus said quietly. Captain Mitchell held up her hand. Mr. Chen, please let them finish. You'll have your turn to speak, Michael continued. The passenger refused to cooperate with our standard security procedures. He started recording us on his phone, which made the situation worse. We felt it was best to verify his ticket purchase before takeoff. I see, Captain Mitchell said. She looked around the first-class cabin. She pointed to the man in seat 2A who wore a business suit. Sir, may I see your boarding pass? The man looked surprised. Yes, of course. He pulled out his phone and showed it to her. The captain glanced at it quickly. Thank you. Then she pointed to the woman in seat 1B with the diamond earrings. Ma'am, may I see yours as well? The woman looked confused but showed her paper boarding pass. The captain looked at it and nodded. Then she turned back to Patricia. Did you ask to see either of these passengers' boarding passes when they boarded? Patricia's face went pale. No, but did either of them seem suspicious to you? The captain asked. No, but that's different, Patricia said. How is it different? Captain Mitchell asked. Her voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath it. Patricia opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at Michael for help. Michael cleared his throat. Captain, we were simply following our instincts about potential security threats. Security threats, the captain repeated. She looked at Marcus, who sat quietly in his seat. Mr. Chen, have you made any threats? Have you acted in a threatening manner? No, ma'am, Marcus said. Have you violated any airline policies? She asked. No, ma'am, Marcus said again. Captain Mitchell turned back to her crew members. So let me understand this correctly. A passenger boards with a valid ticket and a platinum frequent flyer card showing 2 million miles with our airline. He hasn't broken any rules. He hasn't threatened anyone. But you want to remove him from the aircraft because of your instincts. When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Patricia said defensively. But we have to be careful. We have to protect the other passengers. Protect them from what? The captain asked. From a man sitting quietly in his assigned seat? The woman in seat 1B suddenly spoke up. Excuse me, Captain, but I've been sitting here the whole time. That man hasn't done anything wrong. Those two have been harassing him since he sat down. The man in seat 2A nodded. I saw it too. They've asked to see his boarding pass 3 times. They didn't ask to see mine even once. A younger flight attendant stepped forward. She looked nervous. Her name tag read, Jessica Park. She spoke quietly. Captain, I was in the galley, but I heard everything. Mr. Chen was polite and calm the entire time. He only started recording after they threatened to remove him from the plane. Captain Mitchell nodded slowly. She looked at Marcus again. Mr. Chen, do you fly this route regularly? Yes, ma'am, Marcus said. Usually once or twice a month for business. And have you ever had this kind of problem before? She asked. Marcus hesitated. Sometimes, he said carefully. Not always, but sometimes. The captain's jaw tightened. She looked at Patricia and Michael again. Is there a dress code for first-class passengers that I'm not aware of? Well, no, not officially, Michael said. But there's an expectation. An expectation, the captain interrupted. Based on what? Show me in the airline policy manual where it says passengers must dress a certain way to fly first class. Michael said nothing. Captain Mitchell continued. And you mentioned security protocols. Which specific security protocol were you following? The one where we profile passengers based on their appearance? Because I'm pretty sure that's not a protocol. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Patricia's face turned red. I wasn't profiling anyone. I was doing my job. Your job is to ensure passenger safety and comfort, the captain said firmly. Not to decide who looks like they belong in first class and who doesn't. She turned to Marcus. Mr. Chen, I apologize for this treatment. You've done nothing wrong. Your ticket is valid and you have every right to be in this seat. Marcus nodded but said nothing. Captain Mitchell looked around the cabin. I need to speak with my crew privately. This flight will be delayed while we sort this out. She turned to Patricia and Michael. Both of you, come with me to the front galley, now. Patricia and Michael followed the captain to the small kitchen area at the front of the plane. Jessica, the younger flight attendant, came too. Captain Mitchell pulled the curtain closed so passengers could not see them, but Marcus could hear their voices. Inside the galley, Captain Mitchell faced her crew members. Her green eyes were hard now, not calm anymore. Do you understand what you just did? She asked Patricia and Michael. We were trying to prevent a potential problem, Michael said. You were the problem, the captain said sharply. You racially profiled a passenger. You harassed him. You threatened to remove him from an aircraft when he broke no rules and posed no threat. Do you have any idea how serious this is? I didn't racially profile anyone, Patricia protested. I treat all passengers the same. Jessica spoke up quietly. That's not true. Everyone looked at her. She swallowed hard but continued. I've worked with you for 6 months, Patricia. I've seen you question black passengers more than white passengers. I've seen you watch them more closely. I didn't say anything before because I'm new and I didn't want to cause problems, but I can't stay quiet anymore. What you did to that man was wrong. Patricia's mouth fell open. How dare you? She's telling the truth, isn't she? Captain Mitchell asked. Her voice was quiet but powerful. Patricia looked away. She did not answer. The captain turned to Michael. And you, as a supervisor, you should have stopped this. Instead, you made it worse. You backed up her discrimination instead of correcting it. Michael's face was red now, too. I made a judgment call, he said. You made a terrible call, the captain said, and now I have to make one. She pulled out her phone and made a call. This is Captain Mitchell on Flight 447, she said. I need the regional manager to come to the aircraft immediately. We have a situation that needs to be addressed before departure. She hung up and looked at Patricia and Michael. Neither of you will be working this flight, she said. What? Patricia said loudly. You can't do that. I can, and I am, Captain Mitchell said. What you did was discrimination. It was wrong, it was illegal, and it will not happen on my aircraft. I'm removing you from this flight. The regional manager will deal with you when he arrives. This is ridiculous, Patricia said. Her voice was shrill now. I was protecting the passengers. I was doing my job. You're punishing me for being careful. You weren't being careful, the captain said coldly. You were being racist. There's a difference. Michael tried a different approach. Captain, please think about this. We've both been with this airline for over 15 years. Are you really going to throw away our careers over one incident? I'm not throwing away your careers, Captain Mitchell said. You did that yourselves. I'm just making sure you don't harm anyone else today. She opened the curtain and stepped back into the cabin. All the first-class passengers looked at her waiting. Captain Mitchell picked up the phone that connected to the whole plane. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're going to have a short delay before departure while we handle an administrative matter. I apologize for the inconvenience. We should be underway shortly. She hung up the phone and looked at Marcus. Mr. Chen, could you please come with me for a moment? Marcus stood up and followed the captain to the front of the plane. Captain Mitchell led Marcus to a quiet area near the cockpit. They stood away from the other passengers. The captain looked tired but determined. Mr. Chen, I want to apologize again for what happened, she said. What those crew members did was completely unacceptable. No passenger should ever be treated that way. Thank you, Marcus said. But you don't need to apologize. You weren't the one who did it. I'm the captain of this aircraft, she said. Everything that happens on this plane is my responsibility. That includes the behavior of my crew. Marcus nodded slowly. He appreciated her words. What happens now? He asked. That's partly up to you, Captain Mitchell said. You have several options. You can file a formal complaint with the airline. You can leave this flight and take another one, and we'll refund your ticket and compensate you for your trouble. Or you can continue on this flight to London. Whatever you choose, I'll support you. Marcus thought for a moment. He had important meetings in London tomorrow morning. He needed to be there. But more than that, he did not want to give up his seat. He had done nothing wrong. He should not have to leave. I want to stay on this flight, Marcus said. Captain Mitchell nodded. I thought you might say that. And I think that's the right choice. You shouldn't have to change your plans because of someone else's prejudice. Just then, a man in a dark suit walked onto the plane. He looked stressed and worried. His badge said, Thomas Webb, Regional Manager. He looked around the first-class cabin, taking in all the watching passengers. Then he saw Captain Mitchell and walked quickly to her. Captain Mitchell, I came as soon as I got your call. What's the situation? He asked. The captain explained everything that had happened. She spoke clearly and calmly, listing all the facts. Thomas Webb's face grew more concerned as she talked. When she finished, he turned to Marcus. Mr. Chen, I'm Thomas Webb, the regional manager for this airport. I cannot tell you how sorry I am for what happened to you today. This is not how we treat our passengers. This is not who we are as an airline. Then why did it happen? Marcus asked simply. Thomas Webb looked uncomfortable. I don't have a good answer for that, he admitted. But I promise you, we will investigate this fully. The employees involved will face consequences. What kind of consequences? Marcus asked. That will depend on the investigation, Thomas said. But I can tell you that discrimination of any kind is grounds for termination. Marcus looked at him steadily. I've recorded the entire interaction on my phone, he said. I have video evidence of everything that happened. Thomas Webb's face went pale. He understood what that meant. A video like that could go viral on social media. It could damage the airline's reputation badly. It could cost them millions of dollars in lost business. I see, Thomas said quietly. Mr. Chen, please let me make this right. We'll upgrade you to our highest frequent flyer status. We'll give you free flights for a year. We'll compensate you financially. Whatever you want. Marcus shook his head. I don't want free flights, he said. I don't want money. I want something else. What? Thomas asked. I want change, Marcus said. Real change. I want to know that what happened to me today won't happen to someone else tomorrow. Captain Mitchell looked at Marcus with new respect. She had thought he might be angry. She had thought he might want revenge or compensation. But he wanted something better than that. What kind of change? Thomas asked carefully. Marcus thought about it. He had been thinking about this since the incident started. I want mandatory training, he said. All your flight attendants, all your ground staff, everyone who interacts with passengers needs training on racial bias and discrimination. Real training, not just a video they watch once and forget. Thomas nodded slowly. That's reasonable, he said. I'm not finished, Marcus said. I also want a clear process for passengers to report discrimination, a process that's easy to use and that actually leads to action. And I want regular reports on how many incidents are reported and how they're handled. Transparency. That's a big ask, Thomas said. It's a necessary ask, Marcus replied. And there's one more thing. I want the employees who spoke up for me to be recognized, not punished. The flight attendant who told the truth about what she saw, the passengers who supported me, they took a risk by speaking up. They should be rewarded for doing the right thing, not made to feel bad about it. Jessica, the young flight attendant, was standing nearby. She heard Marcus say this, and tears came to her eyes. She had been afraid that speaking up would cost her job. Thomas Webb looked at Captain Mitchell. The captain nodded. Everything Mr. Chen is asking for is reasonable and necessary, she said. I support all of it. Thomas turned back to Marcus. Okay, he said. You have my word. We'll implement all of those changes, but I need to ask you something. That video on your phone, what are you planning to do with it? Marcus smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. That depends, he said. On what? Thomas asked. On whether you keep your promises, Marcus said. If you do, if you really make these changes and stick to them, then maybe the video stays private. But if this happens again, if another passenger gets treated the way I was treated today, then the video goes public, and I'll make sure everyone sees it. Thomas Webb swallowed hard. That's fair, he said. He held out his hand. Do we have an agreement? Marcus looked at the offered hand. He thought about Patricia and Michael, who were probably sitting in the airport terminal right now, angry and humiliated. He thought about all the other passengers who had been profiled and discriminated against over the years. He thought about the change that could come from this moment. He shook Thomas Webb's hand. We have an agreement, he said. Thomas nodded. He looked relieved, but still worried. I'll get started on this immediately, he said. Captain Mitchell, I'll need a full written report from you. And Mr. Chen, I'll contact you next week to update you on our progress. May I have your contact information? Marcus pulled out a business card and handed it to him. Thomas looked at the card. His eyes went wide. The card said, Marcus Chen, founder and CEO, Nextech Solutions. You're that Marcus Chen? Thomas said, shocked. The tech billionaire? Does it matter? Marcus asked quietly. Thomas Webb opened his mouth, then closed it. He realized what Marcus was saying. It should not matter if he was rich or poor, famous or unknown. Every passenger deserved respect. No, Thomas said finally. It doesn't matter. Every passenger deserves to be treated with dignity. I'm just sorry it took this incident for us to be reminded of that. He left the plane, and Captain Mitchell turned to Marcus. That was well done, she said. You could have destroyed this airline with that video. Instead, you're using this as a chance to make things better. Marcus shrugged. Revenge doesn't fix anything, he said. Change does. The captain smiled. I like the way you think, Mr. Chen. She raised her voice so the crew could hear her. Jessica, please come here. The young flight attendant walked over nervously. Yes, Captain? You did the right thing today, Captain Mitchell said. Speaking up when you see something wrong is never easy, especially when it might put your job at risk. But you did it anyway. That takes courage. I'm putting a commendation in your file, and I'm recommending you for the next supervisor position that opens up. Jessica's eyes filled with tears again. Thank you, Captain. Thank you so much. Don't thank me, the captain said. You earned it. Now we need to get 2 crew members removed and figure out staffing for this flight. It's going to be a long night. Patricia and Michael were escorted off the plane by airport security. Patricia was still protesting loudly. She insisted she had done nothing wrong. She said she was being treated unfairly. She did not seem to understand what she had done. Michael left quietly. He looked ashamed. Maybe he understood better than Patricia did. Captain Mitchell called the crew together in the galley again. This time Marcus could not hear what she was saying, but he saw the faces of the flight attendants. They looked serious. Some of them looked upset. They were learning an important lesson today. After 15 minutes, the crew meeting ended. Captain Mitchell returned to the first-class cabin and picked up the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Thank you for your patience during this delay. We're going to be departing for London shortly. Our flight time will be approximately 10 hours and 30 minutes. On behalf of everyone here, I want to apologize for the disruption, and thank you for your understanding. She hung up the phone and looked at Marcus one more time. Enjoy your flight, Mr. Chen, she said. Thank you, Captain, Marcus said. As the captain walked back to the cockpit, several passengers approached Marcus. The woman from seat 1B came first. I just want to say I'm sorry for what you went through, she said. That was terrible. I'm glad the captain handled it properly. Thank you, Marcus said. The man from seat 2A came next. That took a lot of courage, he said. Standing up for yourself like that. A lot of people would have just left the plane. Sometimes you have to stand up, Marcus said simply. If you don't, nothing changes. More passengers came to talk to him. Some shared their own stories of discrimination while traveling. Others just wanted to say they supported him. Marcus listened to each person. He took mental notes of their stories. The plane finally pushed back from the gate 3 hours late. As it taxied toward the runway, Marcus looked out the window at the airport lights. He felt tired. He felt sad. But he also felt hopeful. Maybe something good would come from this terrible experience. Maybe other passengers would not have to go through what he went through. The plane took off into the dark sky, heading east toward London and toward change. The flight from California to London took 10.5 hours. Marcus tried to sleep, but his mind kept replaying what had happened. He kept seeing Patricia's suspicious face. He kept hearing Michael's accusatory questions. He kept feeling the shame and anger of being treated like a criminal for sitting in a seat he had paid for. Around hour 5 of the flight, when most passengers were sleeping, Jessica came to check on him. She brought him a bottle of water and some cookies. "How are you doing, Mr. Chen?" she asked quietly. "I'm okay," Marcus said. "Thank you for asking, and thank you for speaking up earlier. That took courage." Jessica sat down in the empty seat next to him for a moment. "I should have spoken up sooner," she said. "I've seen Patricia do things like this before. Not exactly the same, but similar. She always seems more suspicious of certain passengers. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself I was too new to say anything. But today, when I saw what was happening to you, I realized that staying quiet was wrong. Staying quiet makes me part of the problem." Marcus nodded. "A lot of people struggle with that," he said. "Speaking up is hard. It's easier to look away." "But you didn't look away," Jessica said. "You stood up for yourself even when it would have been easier to just give up and leave. That inspired me." "I've had practice," Marcus said with a sad smile. "This isn't the first time something like this has happened to me. And it probably won't be the last." Jessica looked shocked. "Really? Even though you're successful and wealthy?" "Success and wealth don't change the color of my skin," Marcus said. "Some people will always see that first. They'll make assumptions based on it. I can be wearing a $10,000 suit, and some people will still think I'm in the wrong place." "That's awful," Jessica said. "It is," Marcus agreed. "But it's reality. The question is, what do we do about it? Do we accept it, or do we try to change it?" "Change it," Jessica said firmly. "Good answer," Marcus said. He smiled at her. "You're going to be a great supervisor someday. Don't let anyone tell you different." Jessica went back to work and Marcus finally fell asleep. When he woke up, the sun was rising outside the plane window. They would be landing in London soon. After the plane landed and Marcus collected his luggage, he took a taxi to his hotel. He had a few hours before his first meeting. He used that time to write down everything that had happened on the plane. He wanted a clear record while the details were still fresh in his mind. As he wrote, he thought about what to do with the video he had recorded. It would be easy to post it on social media. The video would probably go viral. Millions of people would see it. Patricia and Michael would be publicly shamed. The airline would face enormous backlash. But Marcus had promised Thomas Webb that he would wait. He had agreed to give the airline a chance to make real changes. He was a man who kept his promises, so the video would stay private for now. But he backed it up in 3 different places just in case. 3 days passed. Marcus attended his meetings in London. His company was working on new artificial intelligence technology for aviation safety. The meetings went well. But Marcus could not stop thinking about the incident on the plane. On the 4th day, his phone rang. It was Thomas Webb, the regional manager. "Mr. Chen, thank you for taking my call," Thomas said. "I wanted to update you on what we've been doing since the incident." "I'm listening," Marcus said. "First, Patricia Morrison has been terminated," Thomas said. After our investigation, we found this was not her first incident of discriminatory behavior. There were previous complaints that were not properly addressed. That's our failure, and we're sorry for it. And Michael Reynolds? Marcus asked. He's been suspended without pay for 60 days, Thomas said. He'll also be required to complete bias training before he can return to work. If there are any further incidents, he'll be terminated immediately. Marcus thought about this. Why wasn't he fired too? He asked. The investigation showed that Michael made a terrible judgment call, but this was his first incident, Thomas explained. He also expressed genuine remorse and understanding of what he did wrong. Patricia, on the other hand, still insists she did nothing wrong. She doesn't seem to understand that her behavior was discriminatory. Someone who can't see their own bias is too dangerous to keep in a customer-facing position. That's fair, Marcus said. We've also started implementing the changes you requested, Thomas continued. We've hired a diversity and inclusion consulting firm to develop comprehensive training for all our employees. The training will be mandatory, not optional. Everyone from pilots to gate agents to flight attendants will go through it. How long will the training be? Marcus asked. 8 hours of in-person training, plus 4 hours of online modules, Thomas said. And it won't be a one-time thing. We're making it an annual requirement. Marcus was impressed. That's more than I expected, he admitted. We're also implementing the reporting system you suggested, Thomas said. Passengers will be able to report incidents through our app, our website, or by calling a dedicated hotline. Reports will go directly to a new oversight committee. And we're committing to publishing quarterly reports on the number of incidents reported and how they were resolved. Who's on this oversight committee? Marcus asked. Right now it's a mix of airline executives and HR professionals, Thomas said. But we'd like to add some outside members too. People who can provide independent oversight. Actually, Mr. Chen, we were hoping you might consider being on the committee. Marcus was surprised. Me? You understand the problem from a passenger perspective, Thomas said, and your company works in aviation technology. You know the industry. Your insight would be valuable. Marcus thought about it. He was already very busy with his company, but this was important. This could help a lot of people. I'll do it, Marcus said. But I have one condition. I want other passengers who have experienced discrimination to be on the committee too. Not just me. Their voices matter just as much as mine. That's an excellent idea, Thomas said. We'll make that happen. There's one more thing, Marcus said. What about Jessica Park, the flight attendant who spoke up? Captain Mitchell already put a commendation in her file, Thomas said. And we're fast-tracking her for a supervisor position. She's exactly the kind of employee we want in leadership. Good, Marcus said. He felt relieved. Jessica deserved to be rewarded, not punished. Mr. Chen, I know we failed you, Thomas said. But I want you to know we're serious about making changes. This isn't just public relations. We're really trying to do better. I believe you, Marcus said. But the real test will be whether these changes stick, whether they're still in place 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. We understand that, Thomas said, and we're committed for the long term. After the call ended, Marcus sat in his hotel room and thought about everything. The airline was doing more than he expected. They were taking this seriously. That was good. But Marcus knew that real change was hard. It required constant effort. It required people to examine their own biases and assumptions. It required courage. Marcus decided to do something he had not planned to do. He wrote a detailed post about his experience and published it on his social media accounts. He had millions of followers because of his success in the tech industry. The post would reach a lot of people, but he did not include the video. Instead, he wrote about what happened and what the airline was doing to fix it. He praised Captain Mitchell for her quick action. He praised Jessica for speaking up. He praised Thomas Webb and the airline for taking responsibility and making real changes. The post went viral anyway. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times. News websites picked up the story. Television reporters called Marcus for interviews. The incident became national news. But because Marcus had written about the airline's positive response, The story was different than it might have been. Instead of just being a story about discrimination, it became a story about accountability and change. Other airlines started announcing similar training programs. It started a bigger conversation about bias in the travel industry. Marcus did dozens of interviews over the next week. He talked about his experience. He talked about the changes the airline was making. He talked about the importance of speaking up when you see discrimination. And he talked about the importance of giving people and organizations a chance to do better when they make mistakes. Some people criticized him. They said he should have released the video. They said he should have sued the airline. They said he should have destroyed Patricia Morrison's career publicly. They said he was too soft, too forgiving. But Marcus did not agree. "Revenge doesn't create change," he said in one interview. "It just creates more anger and pain. I want something better than revenge. I want a world where what happened to me doesn't happen to other people. That requires change, not revenge." 2 weeks after the incident, Marcus received a letter from Patricia Morrison's lawyer. The letter threatened to sue Marcus for defamation and for getting Patricia fired. Marcus read the letter and felt sad. Even now, even after losing her job, Patricia did not understand what she had done wrong. She saw herself as the victim. Marcus gave the letter to his own lawyer. "Let me know if this goes anywhere," he said. "But I'm not worried about it. Everything I said was true, and I have video evidence to prove it." The lawsuit never happened. Patricia's lawyer probably advised her that she had no case. 1 month after the incident, the airline invited Marcus to attend the first session of the new bias training program. He agreed. He wanted to see if it was real or just for show. The training was held in a large conference room at the airline's headquarters. Over 100 flight attendants and ground staff attended. Captain Sarah Mitchell was there too. So was Jessica Park. Thomas Webb stood at the front of the room with 2 professional trainers. "Thank you all for coming," Thomas said. "Today we're starting something important. We're going to learn how to recognize our own biases and how to make sure those biases don't affect the way we treat passengers. This training exists because we failed a passenger. We treated him unfairly because of assumptions we made about him. That failure is on all of us, and we're here to do better." He introduced Marcus to the group. Some people looked surprised to see him there. Thomas explained that Marcus would be speaking about his experience and would be serving on the new oversight committee. Marcus stood up and walked to the front of the room. He looked at all the faces watching him. Some looked curious, some looked defensive, some looked ashamed. Marcus stood in front of the conference room full of airline employees. He took a deep breath before speaking. He had given hundreds of presentations in his career as a tech CEO, but this felt different. This felt more personal. "Thank you for having me here today," Marcus began. "I'm not going to sugarcoat what happened to me on that flight. It was humiliating, it was hurtful, and it was wrong. But I'm not here to make anyone feel bad. I'm here because I believe people can change. I believe organizations can change. And I believe that change starts with understanding." He told his story. He described boarding the plane and Patricia's suspicious looks. He described being questioned about his ticket over and over. He described the assumption that he did not belong in first class simply because of how he looked. As he spoke, he watched the faces in the room. Some people looked uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort meant they were really listening. "Here's the thing," Marcus continued. "I don't think Patricia Morrison woke up that morning and decided to discriminate against someone. I don't think she's an evil person. But I do think she had biases she wasn't aware of. Biases about who belongs in first class and who doesn't. Biases about what successful people look like. And those biases led her to treat me differently than she treated white passengers." He paused and looked around the room. "How many of you have made assumptions about someone based on their appearance?" he asked. "Be honest." Slowly a few hands went up. Then more. Then most of the room had their hands raised. "Thank you for your honesty," Marcus said. "We all make assumptions. Our brains are wired to make quick judgments. That's normal. The problem is when we let those assumptions drive our actions without questioning them. When we let them turn into discrimination." For the next hour, Marcus talked with the group. He answered questions. He shared other experiences of discrimination he had faced over the years. He talked about the impact it had on him, not just in the moment but long after, and he talked about hope. Hope that things could get better. Hope that this training could make a real difference. When Marcus finished, Captain Mitchell stood up. "Thank you, Mr. Chen," she said. Then she turned to the group. "I've been a pilot for 22 years. I've seen a lot in that time. And I can tell you that what happened on my aircraft that day should never have happened. As aviation professionals, we have a responsibility to treat every passenger with respect and dignity, no exceptions." The training continued for the rest of the day. The professional trainers led discussions about bias, about stereotypes, about how to recognize discrimination. They showed videos of real incidents. They had employees practice difficult conversations. It was intensive and challenging. At the end of the day, Jessica Park approached Marcus. "Thank you for coming today," she said. "Hearing your story again in front of everyone, that was powerful. I think people really understood." "I hope so," Marcus said. "But understanding is just the first step. Action is what matters." "I know," Jessica said, "and I promise you I'll keep speaking up when I see something wrong. I won't stay silent anymore." Over the next 6 months, the airline held dozens of these training sessions. Every employee went through them. Some people resisted. Some people complained that it was unnecessary. But most people engaged with the material. Most people seemed to genuinely want to do better. The new reporting system started receiving complaints right away. Some were about serious incidents of discrimination. Others were about smaller things, misunderstandings or poor communication. But every report was investigated. Every report got a response. The airline was keeping its promise of transparency. Marcus attended monthly oversight committee meetings. The committee reviewed all the discrimination reports. They looked for patterns. They made recommendations. And they held the airline accountable for following through on changes. In the 3rd month after the incident, Marcus received an email from a woman named Angela Thompson. She was a black business executive who had experienced discrimination on the same airline 2 years earlier. She had complained at the time, but nothing had been done. Now she wanted to thank Marcus for speaking up and creating change. "Your story gave me the courage to share mine," Angela wrote. "And when I contacted the airline again, this time they listened. They apologized. They investigated. They took it seriously. That wouldn't have happened without you." Marcus read the email 3 times. This was why he had pushed for change instead of just seeking revenge. This was the impact he had hoped for. Angela joined the oversight committee. So did several other passengers who had experienced discrimination. Their diverse perspectives made the committee stronger. 6 months after the incident, the airline published its first quarterly report on discrimination complaints. The numbers were sobering. In those 6 months, they had received over 300 reports. The report showed how each complaint had been handled. Some employees had been fired. Others had been suspended or required to take additional training. The airline was being transparent, just as they had promised. News organizations covered the report. Some praised the airline for its transparency. Others criticized them for having so many incidents. But Marcus saw it differently. "The fact that people are reporting incidents is a good thing," he told a reporter. "It means passengers feel safe speaking up. It means the system is working. The real test is whether the number of incidents decreases over time." 1 year after the incident, Marcus was invited back to the airline's headquarters for an anniversary event. They wanted to celebrate the progress they had made. Marcus was hesitant at first. He did not want this to turn into a publicity stunt. But Thomas Webb assured him it would be a genuine reflection on change. At the event, Marcus was surprised to see Michael Reynolds, the supervisor who had been suspended. Michael approached him nervously. "Mr. Chen, I don't know if you remember me," Michael said. "I remember," Marcus said. "I wanted to apologize," Michael said. "Not because I'm supposed to, but because I need to. What I did to you was wrong. I made assumptions based on your appearance. I supported discrimination instead of stopping it. I failed as a supervisor and as a human being." Marcus looked at Michael carefully. The man seemed genuinely remorseful. "Have you changed?" Marcus asked. I'm trying, Michael said. The suspension gave me a lot of time to think. The training opened my eyes to things I had been blind to. I've realized I had a lot of biases I didn't even know I had. I'm working on them every day. And when I came back to work, I made a commitment to myself. If I ever see someone being treated unfairly, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to do what I should have done a year ago. Marcus nodded. That's all any of us can do, he said. Recognize our mistakes and commit to doing better. The two men shook hands. It felt like closure. During the event, the airline announced new statistics. Discrimination complaints had decreased by 43% over the year. Customer satisfaction scores among minority passengers had increased significantly. Employee awareness of bias had improved dramatically based on surveys. But the most meaningful moment came when a young black teenager named Deshaun Williams was invited to speak. Deshaun had flown on the airline for the first time 2 months earlier. He stood at the microphone nervously. I was scared to fly, Deshaun said. My mom saved money for a year so we could visit my grandmother across the country. I had heard stories about people who looked like me being treated badly on planes. But when we flew, the flight attendants were really nice. They treated us with respect. They smiled at us. I didn't feel scared or unwanted. I felt normal. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it was a big deal to me. The room was quiet. Then people started clapping. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. This was why it mattered. Not because of statistics or policies, but because of real people like Deshaun, who deserved to travel without fear. After the event, Captain Mitchell approached Marcus. She had been promoted to Director of Training, overseeing all the new diversity programs. You changed this airline, she said to Marcus. You know that, right? Marcus shook his head. I didn't change it. You did. Jessica did. Thomas did. Everyone who committed to doing better, they're the ones who created change. I just spoke up. You did more than speak up, the captain said. You could have destroyed us. You had every right to. But instead, you gave us a chance to do better. That was a gift. It wasn't a gift, Marcus said. It was an investment. I invested in the belief that people and organizations can change if given the chance. And you proved me right. 2 years after the incident, Marcus was sitting in seat 1A on the same route to London. He wore his usual hoodie and jeans. The flight attendant, a young man named Christopher Lee, greeted him warmly. Good evening, Mr. Chen, Christopher said. Welcome aboard. Can I get you anything before we take off? Just water, thank you, Marcus said. Christopher brought the water with a smile. He did not ask to see Marcus's boarding pass. He did not question whether Marcus belonged in first class. He simply treated Marcus like he treated every other passenger, with respect and kindness. As the plane took off, Marcus looked out the window. He thought about how much had changed in 2 years. The airline had transformed its culture. Other airlines had followed their example. The conversation about discrimination in travel had gone national. Laws had been proposed to require bias training across the industry, but Marcus knew the work was not done. Change was not a destination. It was an ongoing journey. There would still be incidents. There would still be people with biases, but now there were systems in place to address those issues. There were people committed to doing better. That was progress. Marcus pulled out his laptop to do some work. His company was developing new AI technology that could help identify bias in customer service interactions. The technology could analyze conversations and flag potential discrimination. Several airlines had already expressed interest in using it. Marcus smiled to himself. 2 years ago, he had been humiliated on a plane. Today, he was using his skills and resources to help prevent that from happening to others. He had turned pain into purpose. As the plane flew through the night sky, Marcus felt peaceful. He had kept his promise to create change, and he had done it not through anger or revenge, but through patience, persistence, and hope. The flight attendant came by again. Mr. Chen, we're serving dinner soon. Would you like the chicken or the pasta? Chicken, please, Marcus said. Great choice, Christopher said with a genuine smile. I'll bring that right out. Such a simple interaction, such normal treatment. But for Marcus, and for countless other passengers who no longer had to fear discrimination when they traveled, it meant everything. The plane continued east through the darkness, carrying Marcus and his fellow passengers toward London, toward their destinations, toward a future where everyone belonged.